So what if you're interested to pursue many careers, but you feel like you have to choose one? This is exactly what one of my viewers asked me in his message. So this is Max Caulfield. He's saying, my mom keeps telling me to go into the care and fostering of animals, but there are so many options I can/want to choose from. How did you go about the education part of the different careers? Were there some that you did all at once, or did you stretch them out throughout your life? I'm trying to choose between culinary, makeup, writing, or the theater arts. So here we can see that Max is interested in a variety of things, and it might be the case that you watching right now are exactly like him. Here's a question for you. Are you someone who's interested in multiple things and right now you are struggling to choose one career among many possible careers that you're interested in? If you are, please let me know in the comments, and also let me know whether after watching this video you have gathered any new insights that were helpful to you. And while I can safely say that it's impossible to pursue all of these endeavors at once, it is possible to pursue each one of these at different stages of your life. So as an example, let's just say here that Max is equally interested and also equally skilled, or rather starting at zero in all of these areas, in his culinary skills, makeup, theater, arts, and also writing. So Max could, for example, go to culinary school and then on the weekends work on his makeup skills or spend a bit of time on writing. And in the end, it doesn't mean that he will necessarily pursue all of these 4 careers, although that's not impossible either. But on the way, while exploring all these things, he might get to new information and learn more things about himself, especially. By taking even just a little bit of time to dive into each of these areas, he'll gradually be able to get a better understanding of where his real passions, his interests, but maybe also his skills and talents lie, and where he, going forward, will want to invest more time in. But this could also be the other way around. Max might as well go to theater school and then on the weekends work on his culinary skills. For example, cook at home, try out recipes, try out different techniques, or watch an online course. And then throughout this process, he will be able to find out and discover whether he actually wants to take this culinary thing to the next level and actually get some real training in that. By the way, in case you're new to this channel, one of my goals is to help you to get out of a career that you feel stuck in, pursue the kind of career that you really want and is right for your life, and live a more intentional life. So this means that eventually, yes, you will have to choose, at least for now. You will have to start and focus on one thing, but it doesn't mean that you will need to do that for your entire life. It's just that for right now, he will need to focus and pick one thing on which he will focus the most, that will be a priority, and in which he will invest most of his time and effort. Career development is not a thing where you, right after high school or even university, can already set up your career plans for your entire life, for your 30, 40, 50 years ahead. It doesn't work that way. You start off with a set of experiences and skills and your knowledge, and also, of course, opportunities. You also have to see what the opportunities are right now at the given moment. And from there, it will kind of be an iterative process, which means that you work on each of these interests that you have, and gradually you find more and more about whether you really want to dig deeper into it or whether you want to leave it. Never be afraid to quit. Sometimes quitting can be the right answer. But quitting here doesn't mean that you give up. But what I mean here, for example, is that once Max has tried to apply his culinary skills and also maybe joined a theater group and dabbled a bit in there and maybe did some writing of his own, there he will need to honestly assess whether it is actually something that he wants to continue or not. And if it's not the case, then he shouldn't hesitate to drop any of those. By the way, in case you're enjoying this video so far, then please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe. And also, super important, don't forget to hit the little alarm bell, because only if you do will YouTube notify you when there are new videos from me. If you watching right now are someone like Max, someone who has multiple interests, who wants to pursue different things in life, but is confused which one to choose or where to start, then here are a few things that you will need to consider to make your decision. Number 1 is interest or passion. At this very moment, of all the things that you want to do, where do you think does your biggest interest and passion lie? And if we go one level higher up, Where among all these areas do you think that you find your biggest purpose? And number 2 would be the financial aspects. What are the financial costs? Of course, the higher the cost, the more intensively you will need to consider whether or not you would actually want to study, for example, theater arts or culinary school, etc. If the cost is relatively low, let's say for example that you want to take an online writing course which will only cost you about $200, then you might not need to think that long and just take the course and explore it. Number 3 is time. How much time do you think you will need to explore each of these areas? Let's say for example the theater arts. If your intention is to be a working artist and regularly work in theater, that is not likely to be something that will happen within half a year or 1 year. You will need to get some training, you will need to get used to the whole process, and it will take you a long time. So if you want to become a working actor who works in the theater in the long term, then you will really need to plan ahead because it will take you some time. On the other hand, writing is something that you can do immediately. You can at this very moment start your own blog and start writing and post it. Of course, it will take some time to develop your writing skills, but in effect, it is something that you can do immediately. Number 4 is energy, and I think that this is an even more important consideration than time. You have to take into account that at different stages in your life, when you're 20, 40, or 60 or 70 years old, you will have different levels of energy. Of course, there will always be those 70, 80-year-olds who will have much more energy than many 20-year-olds or even 18-year-olds, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, but in general, you will have more energy when you're in your 20s and 30s than later on in your 60s or 70s. So think about how you want to try and time these different careers to match your energy level at different stages in your life as well. This is the case if you have many interests and you really want to try to fit everything in. So in Max's case, for example, from an energy perspective, it would make sense, I think, to start off with culinary school first. Again, assuming that the interests and skill levels at this point are all similar. And writing is something that you can start later on, even when you're in your 50s, 60s, and 70s, and it will not be too late. So the great thing is, if right now you are trying to choose between many careers, let's say 4 different careers in 4 different areas, like in Max's example, you do not need to choose among one of them for your entire life. You can start off with one and you can develop the others as a hobby or as a passion project, and from there you can see where it will take you next. One really important thing to recognize is that our own interests and even passions are constantly evolving. You might have had a childhood dream when you were 3, for example, becoming a teacher. But then when you're 25, you might realize that being a teacher is the last thing that you want to be. You have to realize this shifts in your own life taking place. So while you can't start to pursue multiple careers at the same time, especially if those are career types that require a high level of energy, time, effort, and so on. For example, you won't be able to start pursuing a career in medicine and in film at the same time, starting them both at the same time. But what you can do is stage them throughout your life. You start with one thing, and once you're stable in one thing and you know your way around and you have built up a level of expertise and maybe also flexibility in your work, then you can start exploring the other thing, and that might eventually become a career too. And that is how most people in the real world eventually end up with multiple careers. So it's not like from the beginning they started off doing medicine and filmmaking, but they started with one thing, let's say medicine, and they practiced it, and then after a few years, after 10, 15 years, they started to go into filmmaking, making their own film projects, and that is how they ended up becoming a doctor/filmmaker, for example. As always, I thank you so much for watching. I wish you all the best in your career and your endeavors, and I hope to catch you again soon.